It's often said that success is a journey, it's not a destination. It's not the same as the pinnacle. So pinnacle is a specific goal that you want to achieve. Success is more, I really like Bob Dylan's definition, who said that a man or a person is a success if they get up in the morning and go to bed at night, and in between they do what they love to do. To make it more specific, I think if you can stay in the flow most of the time in your work, if that's for me personally, that is success.
The Thomas Green podcast is owned and made possible by Ethical Marketing Service. If your business is struggling with Google or Facebook ads, maybe you're frustrated figuring it out, or there's a performance issue, Ethical Marketing Service has worked on hundreds of accounts and we can help in this area. We offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, and for every direct account we look after, we sponsor a child in a developing nation with food, water and education. If you would like to find out if we can help, it's a free, no salesy consultation call, and the link is in the description. Enjoy the episode. Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the episode today, we have Steve Preda. Steve, welcome.
Hi, Thomas. Great to be here.
It is great to have you. How did I do with the surname?
You did very well. You did much better than expected.
Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
So I'm a leadership team coach, and I help emerging private companies get to the top of the mountain.
Top of the mountain. Sounds good. Well, there's lots of stuff I can ask you about today. Of the things which, should we say, people ask you regarding your knowledge on, what's the thing that you like to talk about, or perhaps what you're passionate about?
I am really passionate about this idea of coaching leadership teams. So I live in America, and here we have 1.7 million companies that is kind of in my target market. I guess maybe not counting the ones in Hawaii. Out of the 1.7 million companies, which are 10 to 250 employee companies, emerging private companies, 85% of them go out of business within 10 years. And I have this conviction that with good coaching and with good disciplines and following the 5 principles that you can see on the poster behind me, any of those 1.7 million companies can become a sustainable, viable business in the long term, and they don't have to go out of business in 10 years, and they can contribute to the GDP and the employment of the country and the growth of the economy. So that's just a US-centric view, but I think there's a similar ratio in other countries in Europe and in Asia as well, that a large number of companies go out of business because business owners they are not experts in entrepreneurship. They may be an expert in their technical knowledge, what they do and the service they provide or the product they make, but they've never done an MBA. They never learned formal entrepreneurship, or they just haven't learned it along the way. And then they just run out of money or run out of gas, and those companies fall. And I strongly believe that if we can help these people, then the economy is going to grow, more people will have jobs, more immigrants will have jobs as well. So it can be a healthy economy, a healthy society. So that's kind of what I like to start with, and this is what drives me.
Thank you for the answer. You have given me an easy one there, though, because you've mentioned your 5 principles. So I have to say, Steve, what are these 5 principles that you speak of?
Yeah, so the 5 principles, so the pinnacle top of the mountain. So to get to the top of the mountain, there are 5 principles that are really important to keep in mind. The first one is people. So in order for a company to be successful, you have to have the right people who are doing the right things and that you are coaching all the time. So you're developing your A potentials into A players, and the A players, you keep them engaged, keep them in the flow. You also need to have a powerful purpose. Any company has to have, it's not enough just to make money and to pay, to make payroll and to pay the bills. Companies are here because they have a societal purpose that they fulfill. They have a good that they are doing for people, and that's how they make money. So it's really important that we are clear on that and we articulate that and we share it with the team. So we are clear on our vision. We are clear on how we're going to get there. What is our strategy? And we create the alignment in the organization so that everyone is rowing in the same direction. So that's purpose. The third element is playbooks. So when you have the right people and you have the right purpose and everyone knows where we're going, then you want to make sure that you create the playbook so that you record the right and best way of doing things for your people so that you can bring more people on board. They know exactly what to do. You create the consistency and the scalability in the business so that everyone is working effectively and optimally. And then you also want to create a cadence of discipline execution so that you perform at a high level. You have a strategic planning process. You set goals. You have metrics that you're measuring everyone in the company, and you also have a set of meetings where you make sure that people are holding each other accountable. And ultimately, if you do all these things right, then profit is going to be a byproduct. But we can take it a level higher and we can say, okay, but what is the highest level of profitability in your industry? What is the top septile of the top echelon of players? What is their profitability and how are we going to get there? So engineer the business so you deliver a top septile or an elite level of profitability. And then how do you sustain it in the long term? So how to create what I call a strategy stack in your business, a set of differentiating activities that in combination will give you this power to continue to sustainably be profitable at the elite level and generate the cash that will help you grow the business and make it a really successful business that gets to the top of your mountain.
Thank you for that. Did you say, what was the last one?
It's profit. So how do you create that elite level of profitability that you can sustain over the long term?
So you mentioned initially at the start of the call regarding all the businesses that had or do go out of business on a, should we say, yearly basis. The 5 principles, what would you say companies tend to be the most guilty of the things that you mentioned?
I would say they are most guilty of being unconsciously incompetent of these things. So not having the awareness that they need to improve. Because when you have the awareness, then you start to improve and then you start to work on these things. Every company is in different positions. So some companies are really good with their people and they understand their culture. They articulated their culture. They know the kind of people that they need to attract. They put them in the right seat. They coach them. But then maybe they are not clear on their vision. They don't know where they are going. Or if they are, they don't know how to get there. Or if they do that, then they don't take the time to explain it to their people. They don't create the alignment around it. It's maybe the CEO knows it and a handful of people on the leadership team. And then you have those companies that do both of these things, but they just don't pay attention to delegating. So they get stuck because they cannot grow. A company can only grow to the extent and the leadership team becomes more and more effective and elevates themselves. And if the leadership team is not delegating, it means they have no time to do higher level, strategic level work. So they are basically stuck and the whole company is stuck. So it's really important that's why the playbooks are important, because you want your leadership team to delegate everything that they don't have to be involved in and create the playbook so that people can follow the best ways to do things without having the experience and the intuition that the leadership team members often have. So you see this a lot, that companies can grow to the extent that the CEO or the management team can personally manage things, tend to things, and they get stuck at that point. And some companies, most companies, I mean, the profit is kind of icing on the cake. Very few companies are intentional about, okay, how profitable should we be here? If you're a construction company, are we happy just to make 10% because most of our peers are doing 5%? Or we want to be at the elite level of 15 to 20%, and we figure out how we engineer a business that can deliver that kind of profitability. And the reason for this is because if you're not profitable, you cannot grow because you cannot finance your growth. And if you're not growing, you're not able to attract the right kind of people because the good people, the A players, they want to grow. They got to go to a company that gives them the opportunity to grow with it. And then you're again get stuck. And when you're stuck, when you're stagnating, when you're not profitable enough, then you become vulnerable to shocks that happen every now and then. The economy nosedives, or you get a disruptive competitor. And then if you're vulnerable, you're going to go out of business at some point. It's just a matter of time. So these elements are all interrelated, and you don't have to be perfect at all of them from the get-go. What's important is that you have an awareness. You need to improve, and you're willing. You are coachable. You're willing to improve yourself. You keep an open mind. You follow a process. And the best thing to do is to have a system, because there's so many information out there. There are so many solutions out there that it's overwhelming. But when you have a system which is a limited set of principles and approaches and consistent, then you can just follow the system and you're going to get there. Like, I guess this is what you do with your clients as well in the marketing, right? I'm sure you have systems and you follow that to help your clients.
Sure. Great answer. Thank you for going into detail there. You picked up on should we say the purpose or the vision? And I wanted to ask about examples of what that might be. So if you, I'm sure you've been through plenty of businesses. So have you seen a particular example which makes you think, yeah, that's a really good vision or purpose for that company to have? Would you mind sharing it?
Yeah, so there are many examples. I like to illustrate the vision as a pyramid or a mountain. Actually, the whole kind of Pinnacle process can be illustrated as a mountain. And basically, the pinnacle of the mountain is what Jim Collins, who is an authority in business planning and business strategy, he called it the big, hairy, audacious goal. So the long-term goal, the big goal that is very tangible, it's specific, and you're striving to achieve it, but it's far out enough. It's like 7, 10, 15 years out so that you can come up with a big energizing goal rather than just an incremental one, because there's enough time to reach it. So that's the pinnacle. Now there's something above the pinnacle. So if you think of this as a mountain and the pinnacle is the top of the mountain, then there is, in the book, I illustrated as a moon. So there's something that is beyond the mountain. You cannot reach it because there's no direct path to getting there. It may be an aspirational thing. That's what I call the why of a company. It could be a really aspirational thing. Some examples, Tesla, that we all know, Tesla, their why is to help the world transition to sustainable energy. So this is a really big one, and they're not going to achieve this, right? Their pinnacle is to reduce to double the capacity of batteries within 5 years. So, that's the key ingredient in a car. The more power the battery, the longer you can run without a recharge means, more people can drive it and can use it. And then the next level down. So you've got the why, which is like the moon. Imagine the moon, and then you have the pinnacle, which is the long-term goal, and then you have what we call medium-term milestones. So as you're going up the mountain, let's say 3 or 5 years out, you actually have a closer kind of medium-term vision, which is much more detailed. So if the long-term vision is to double the capacity of the battery, then the medium-term vision may be to have certain types of battery solutions figured out. And it could be that you actually have the supply chain figured out for those batteries. And it could be that a certain marketing of the battery. I mean, I'm making it up. I can give you another example. I've got a client, which is a small business in the energy efficiency, kind of similar area. And their pinnacle is that they want to build or convert 1 million homes into net zero homes. So that's their pinnacle. It's 2040. Their big why is that they want to advance life in the home. So that's kind of an abstraction that they want to focus on improving the quality of life in the homes. That includes being net zero, but that's the specific one. And then the medium-term goal is that they have, they want to, I think it's 200,000 homes should be made net zero. And there are certain things that they have to have a certain number of trucks. They have to have a software solution for measuring how they convert these homes to net zero and many other things. So that's their medium-term milestones. So it's like 8 to 12 things that they want to achieve in the medium term. And that's their vision. And the strategy is kind of next level down. So how are they going to achieve that vision? How are they going to position themselves in the market? And how are they going to differentiate themselves from their competitors? That's going to be their game plan to achieving that vision. That first, that's medium term, and then the pinnacle. And then you break it down, and you this is like the strategic, tactical, perform. This is what performance about is. It's basically you have a strategic plan every year. You conduct your strategic planning. Okay, these are our medium-term milestones. So what are the handful of things we're going to achieve this year in order to move us towards that? And then every quarter you break it down even further, and we call those rocks. What are your quarterly rocks that you're going to achieve in order to achieve your annual goals? And then you break it down further. What are the weekly metrics that you're going to measure? And then what are the daily activities that go into those metrics so that you're hitting the metrics every week and you're winning the week, and then you win the quarter, you accomplish the quarterly rocks, and that will come together to the annual plan. And 3 or 5 annual plans will deliver your milestones. And then at the end, you're going to get to the pinnacle, and you're moving toward your purpose, your why. And when you get to the pinnacle, then it may be a false peak. Maybe there's another mountain behind it, which is higher. And then you're going to set another pinnacle, and you're going to keep marching, but it's still going to be in the direction of your why.
It's a great summary. I was going to say, what happens then? What happens when you hit your pinnacle? But like you say, you probably have to set a new pinnacle, right?
Well, it depends. So the company as an organization definitely has to do that. Now, for the owner of the business, they may be already fulfilled. They get to the pinnacle, and they don't want to take another breath. They don't want to go down the hill again and go up the next hill. They just want to stay there, and they want to do something else. They want to retire, or they want to travel, or they want to write a book, or whatever they want to do, whatever is their ideal life. But the organization needs the next pinnacle, because the rest of the people are not going to retire with the owner, right? They want to, if the owner wants this company to be a valuable company with a future, then they have to make sure that the organization will set the next pinnacle before they actually reach the first pinnacle, so that there is a continuous climb and a continuous movement forward, and that people feel like there is a future for the business, that it's a great place to be. They want to be part of this big story of achieving these pinnacles and to moving towards that aspirational why of the organization. So for the individual, maybe that is the pinnacle, and that's game over for them, at least in this company. They want to do something else, or they don't. It's up to them. But for the organization, definitely more pinnacles should come and will come if it's the right organization.
You've mentioned in your answers a couple of times about metrics and perhaps keeping each other accountable. Would you mind sharing your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this is very important, accountability, because in order for the company to move forward, things have to get done and people have to be accountable to accomplishing their part of the work. And in fact, if you want to keep what we call A players, people who live your culture and who perform at a high level, or potential A players who have a potential to perform at a high level, these people, they want to be with other A players. They want to know that it's not just them who are executing, but everyone on the team is executing. Other people are not holding things back, right? And the traditional way of accountability is that you got the business owner or the CEO, and they will personally hold everyone accountable, which is, if you have children, you know how difficult it is to hold our children accountable, because there's always an excuse, right? It's always something very reasonable excuse, and it can be difficult to not make exceptions. Now, that's why we have this process called peer accountability. So when you have a meeting where the whole team is there, let's say the leadership team, we call it the weekly tactical meeting, and people are checking in on their metrics, then there's no place for excuses, because anyone can come up with an excuse, right? So it doesn't make sense to have an excuse. So excuses fall away, and then all you are left with is the person performing or they're not performing? Why are they performing? Is it because the playbook is broken, or is it because they have not been trained, or is it because they have their priorities wrong, or they're just not performing? So everything becomes transparent, and you can create that peer pressure that A players together, they all want to not let the team down, and they're going to perform. So you create that structure of peer accountability, and it becomes automatic, and people do the heavy lifting on your team, and you don't have to do it yourself.
So the peer accountability would be something like everyone pairs off and they keep each other, should we say, in check, for lack of a better term.
So it's not just pairing off, but essentially you have a team meeting, and one of the agenda items there is that how are we doing on our metrics? Everyone has one or two metrics, and they are all checking in. Did I hit my metric? Everyone has a goal. Did I hit the goal for the metric this week? Yes or no? If yes, it's great. If no, then okay, let's figure out why. Let's put it on our topic list and figure out why that's not the case. So everyone is checking in, and people are also checking in on their rocks. So am I progressing my rock? Am I hitting my milestones on the rocks? We have milestones on the rocks as well. So it's not pairing out. It's not two people doing it to each other. You do it in the group. So you have a 5-person leadership team. Then people check in with the group, and then we're gonna work on figuring out why people who are not accomplishing what's going on. And it can be uncomfortable if the person is really just dropping the ball. It's gonna be an uncomfortable conversation. If they are prevented by something that is outside of their control, then let's figure out and let's put them back in control so that next week they're gonna hit it. And we also gamify this process. We call it win the week. So let's say if the leadership team has 5 metrics altogether, then and if they hit 3 or 4 of the 5, then we say, okay, they won the week. So every week we want to win the week, and every quarter we want to have, let's say, 70% of the week's won is winning the quarter. So we are pushing to win the quarter. So we keep it gamified, and if you win the week, if you win the quarter, then you're gonna win the year, and then you're gonna win the medium term and long term as well.
Thank you for your answer. You mentioned that if you were to, let's say, reach the pinnacle, maybe the business owner perhaps wants to go and, I don't know, write a book or something like that. Was that yourself?
Not quite. It could have been. So my life took some turns. My business, I sold my business 9 years ago. It was in Europe, in Hungary, and it just so happened that the changes in the business landscape triggered my desire to sell the business. My business was an investment banking business, and we were reliant on foreign investors coming and buying companies in Hungary. And the Hungarian politics turned towards more of a kind of an internally facing kind of economy where foreign investors were not as welcome. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall that this, in the long term, that's gonna at a minimum will not allow the business to grow, but possibly even impact it negatively and make it decline. So that's why I decided to sell. It was not, I haven't reached my pinnacle at that point in the business. My pinnacle was to build a regional, I call it powerhouse investment bank. And I was very disappointed that this pinnacle, I didn't see it possible anymore. So that's why I transitioned. And at that point, I was not yet writing books. I was not at that point in my career. So my career changed. But it turned out that I don't have to retire to write books. So my perspective changed now that I don't have a business. I don't have a team to manage. I have more time to do other things, and it worked out very well for me. I'm very
Do you miss the business, or are you happy?
I did miss the business for a while. So it was a very eerie feeling. I felt like a fish out of water initially. On the one hand, I was excited that I found a new home for the team, and the business continued to prosper. That was very rewarding, very gratifying. Of course, I also felt a little bit surprised that how come I was not necessary for this business anymore. But that was kind of a good thing. And yes, initially I had this idea that I wanted to start another business. I missed the camaraderie with my former colleagues. It was really fun to share those successes as well as challenges. So there's a lot to be said for that. But I reoriented, and now I really enjoy the independence of not having a staff to manage. So I don't have to be available all the time for other people. That's very liberating for me, and I can just work with my clients. And every quarter, I have a very intense quarter. After the end of the calendar quarter, all my clients hold their quarterly meetings, and then I'm in the zone and I'm just doing the meetings. I really enjoy it. It's very intense. And then I've got a month or two when it's much lighter, and then I can write my books and be and working, doing thinking and creative work as well. So that's a great cadence for me for the moment.
Well, you mentioned the fact that you sold your business. It's, I think, perceived to be quite an accomplishment from the perspective of an entrepreneur. Have you got any lessons to share on that topic?
Well, I have lots of lessons, to share. So I did not sell my business as intentionally as I would have advised my own clients to do it. So that was kind of the big lesson, that when I came to sell my business, I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. What happened was 2011, when the Eurozone crisis hit, that I'm sure you remember, this was a big wake-up call for us, because it was just coming on the heel of the global financial crisis, which really impacted our business. We recovered, and then the Euro crisis again, and that disrupted the financial markets, which impacted our business. And we thought, wow, we don't want to go through that again. And then maybe there's going to be a third crisis, which actually there was, because of the migrant crisis a few years later. So we decided that because of the political situations, changes, plus the demographics in Europe were not really looking good. And we thought maybe, coming to the US and starting the business here would be a great idea. And at the time, someone approached me to buy my business. I said, wow, it's a great thing. But what they really wanted was to partner with them. So they thought that the business was fully dependent on me. And therefore, they gave me a really lousy offer, which was very sobering for me, that I thought I would just walk away. It was not possible. So I hankered down, and that's when I got exposed to this idea of management blueprints. You're probably familiar with the E-Myth and Traction. So I call these management blueprints, and I stumbled upon Traction at the time. I already had read E-Myth and kind of built my business around E-Myth, but Traction really gave me another push to look at my business again and to systemize things and create the meeting cadence and the execution cadence and delegate. And when I did that, the person who kind of gave me the very low ball offer came back and gave me a much better offer. And then I sold my business, and then I started thinking more about these blueprints, and I wrote a book last year about it. And then this year, we are coming out with my co-author, Gregor Cleary. We're coming out with another book, which is actually a management blueprint itself. So it's not about management blueprints. It is a blueprint. And I believe it's a very powerful one as well, which allows a company not just to kind of ascend to base camp a little bit higher, but actually to go all the way to the top of the mountain. Some of the other blueprints will just take you part of the way, and they expect you to then take it from there without the Sherpa. It's like climbing Mount Everest without a Sherpa, right? You go with the Sherpa to base camp, and then the Sherpa says goodbye, and then you're on your own and climb the rest of the way. That's not so safe. So what Pinnacle is designed to do is to take you all the way. So your Sherpa is going to take you to the top and will help you get down as well alive from the top, so that it's a much safer way to travel.
Well, one of my questions whenever I speak to authors is, do you think you've got another book in you? But basically you're saying you've already done the next, you're already multiple book author. Is that accurate?
Yes, I've got, well, this is the fourth. I started writing about 17 years ago, and I had a newsletter, and I wrote articles there and blogged very heavily. And then when I moved over to the US, I turned all my historic blogs and newsletters, turned them into 2 books. And so they are kind of books, but not books really, just more of a collection of essays. And then Viable and then Pinnacle is what I call real books. And yes, I'm excited about it. I think it's a great process to kind of do the research and to think things through and crystallize ideas and make sure that they make sense and they fully backed up with evidence. So I love that analytical process. And yes, I have the idea for the next one, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. But it's a great process to have.
Is it a passion of yours, would you say?
Yes, I love it. I'm a very curious person, and I love to, discover things. I love to read. I love to discover what other people have figured out. I like to understand things at the root, so I really like to go back, and I find it a very interesting adventure to figure out why things are that way, not just how things are. And then when you figure it out, then you can start improving things, because if you know why they are in such a way, then it's easier to see how they could be done even better. So that's what I'm really driven by. And the ultimate purpose is to create these tools for entrepreneurs, the 1.7 million out there, and most of them are not using management blueprints. My mission is to kind of spread the word that these toolkits are out there, and it's a way for you to synthesize, to basically apply complex ideas, to simplify them, and to apply it even for a small company without having to hire MBAs or expensive consultants, you can do it yourself, or you can get a guide, a Sherpa who will walk you up the mountain, but you don't need a team of consultants to do it. And that's kind of democratizing the strategies and management techniques that the McKinsey and the BCGs, Boston Consulting Groups of the world, are promoting to large Fortune companies and FTSE companies. You can actually do it for a small business.
Well, that's one of the benefits of getting that kind of value from a book, right? So when you compare it to hiring a consultant, the price of a book is a lot of value considering what you actually get from that. And regarding Pinnacle, do you have any favorite chapter at all?
Favorite chapter. I really like the chapter which I feel like, much of the book is not completely new. So, Gregory and I are standing on the shoulders of giants. So we have used the ideas of our forebears. We talked about Michael Gerber, the E-Myth, Vern Harnish, Jim Collins, Andy Grove, Peter Drucker. So all these people, all their ideas are really valid, and it's part of the book. But I think we have broken new ground with some of the playbook stuff. I have to give credit to David Jennings, who also contributed great ideas there, but I think we managed to take it a little bit further. And on the profit, so the idea of benchmarking yourself, that's again not new, but how to do it and what are the practical tools available for that and how to look at it, how to engineer your business so that you deliver that profitability, and what are the practical things that you can do, and how to think about actually automating your processes, and also this idea of strategy stacks. So to create this stack of strategic processes and methods and differentiated activities that you can then combine, and so that I think there is a lot of new ground there, and which needs further exploration. So I think it's just the first steps, and I think I don't want to spill the beans, but I think there is things that we can provide more to the readers in these arenas, how to take this further and how to help companies really ascend the highest pinnacles with good tools there.
Thank you for that. What are your goals with the book and in general?
So the goals of the book, well, short term, medium term, long term. I would say the biggest goal is, so the Pinnacle is an organization, Pinnacle Business Guides. We are over 100 guides or Sherpas that we help companies ascend the mountain. So the most tangible goal is to give a book in the hands of our Pinnacle guides, as well as all our clients and prospects, so that they can familiarize themselves with what the Pinnacle approach is. And they can decide for themselves whether this is what they want to pursue or they want to go after some other management blueprints. So that's the short-term goal. The longer-term goal is I would really love this book to be to go mainstream, and for people to use this as a reference guide. I mean, all this 1.7 million and all those other millions of companies worldwide, if a fraction of them will get this book and read it, I think it's going to help them. So the longer term goal is for this book to become, one of the leaders of its genre, and something that people find helpful and useful. And obviously, that would be fantastic if we could have contributed that to entrepreneurs' lives, that make things simpler and easier and smoother and faster and more profitable. That can impact a lot of people. That could impact millions of people potentially.
Well, I normally ask about your definition of success, but would you say that impacting people is part of that? And if not, what's your definition of success?
So So success is, I mean, it's often said that success is a journey, it's not a destination, right? So it's not the same as the pinnacle. So pinnacle is a specific goal that you want to achieve. Success is more, I really like Bob Dylan's definition, who said that a man or a person is a success if they get up in the morning and go to bed at night, and in between they do what they love to do. So I think that this is kind of my mantra as well. To make it more specific, I think if you can stay in the flow most of the time in your work, if that's for me personally, that is success. So if I can do stuff that I enjoy doing 80% of the time, that is amazing. And I think actually I'm doing that. Maybe it's not 80%, maybe it's 70%, but that is for me the success. Maybe I can increase that to 80% or 90%. I don't know what that is, but to be in this flow thing, that when I work with clients, I'm in the flow. When I'm working on a book, I'm in the flow. So that's success for me. Now, of course, there is the financial side of success as well. And for me, what that means is that, our kids are getting our support, and they can go to the colleges that they want to go to and be successful, and the family is successful, and people don't depend on you. I think that's part of success is to create an autonomous environment around you so that people don't depend on you, but they like to be with you. I don't know. I'm kind of blabbering here, but maybe I should think more about that.
Well, I like the Bob Dylan quote. I think that's well worth reflection. So thank you. Is there anything that I should have asked you about today?
What you could have asked me? What I had for breakfast? I don't know. You asked me.
Is that a good question?
Not really. What you could have asked me? I sometimes ask this question, and it's a tricky one. Well, you could have asked me why people should read Pinnacle. Do you want me to answer that question?
Go for it.
So I think people should read Pinnacle because it will allow them to have a clear blueprint as to what they should do with their business in order to help them get to their ideal life. And I think that everyone should start with that, figuring out what is my ideal life. Is it running my business? Is it doing something else outside of my business? Is it being in a different role in my business so that I can stay in the flow more? So that's the first thing. And then when you figure that out, maybe it's traveling the world, maybe it's writing books, maybe it's being with your family, whatever it is, or spending your time in Vegas playing in a casino. I don't care what it is. What's the ideal life for you? And then how can you use your business to get you there? And the Pinnacle system really helps you orchestrate your business so that you have a fantastic asset which you can enjoy if that's what you want to do. You may enjoy it as an executive, you may enjoy it as a shareholder, you may enjoy it as a specialist inside the business. I've seen examples of that who moved back down the business. They handed over the baton, and a local attorney here in Richmond did that, and he worked as an attorney in a specialist area which he really enjoyed. So what is your ideal life? And then it's a blueprint for you to build that business that will deliver it to you, and that's why people should read it.
Sounds like I need to give it a read, Steve.
Yes, please do.
Well, for those that do, and people who want to connect with you as well, where do they go?
So my website is stevepreda.com, and they can find there, they can book a meeting with me if they want. They can find my books there, my podcast. I also host the Management Blueprint podcast. So if you're into business frameworks and what entrepreneurs use, we are at the 90-something episode, and all of them are about a different framework. So if you're into it, then check it out. And you can check the books out on Amazon. So Pinnacle is coming out May 18th. And there's also Bible. So check the books. And also you can check out Pinnacle Business Guides if you are looking for a guide to help you on the journey to the Pinnacle. Check that out. But if you read the book, then you will get the links there as well. So that's all the places, and I'm on LinkedIn too.
Thank you for that. For those listening or watching, please review the links in the description. And Steve, thank you for being a great guest today.
Thomas, thank you for being a great host and asking great, energizing questions. I love that show.